game, I explained that I was watching my Chihuahua watch TV because if your vertical pet watches at least 2 hours of commercial a day, it makes them happy and you get 20 bonus tokens. Then I asked my mom if she wouldn't mind spotting me $10 because the Net Critter store just started carrying trampoline shoes and I was pretty sure Gregory's little friend would really like to have them, but I guess I picked the wrong time to ask for a loan because it seemed like she was in a bad mood. She said I didn't have any appreciation for the value of money and that if I wanted to pay for my critters habit, it was gonna have to take it out from my own pocket. I told mom I didn't have the money on my own and that's why I keep hitting up her and dad, but she said that there were plenty of things I could do to earn some. She said it was supposed it was supposed to snow tonight. I could go out and show up our neighbor's driveway tomorrow. I really don't feel comfortable knocking on my doors and asking the neighbors for money. My school has a fundraise year, and I have to go form a house to begging people I hardly even know for something from me. And half of the time I don't even really know what it is I'm selling. Hello, Mr. Capler. Would you like to buy some Hardy's bulbs? I wish the school would give us something useful to sell, like candy bars or cookies. The Girl Scouts is lucky because at least they get to sell stuff what people actually want. The way the system works with these fundraisers is that a student does all the work and the school gives us these chunky prizes as rewards. One time I sold $20 worth of gourmet coffee beans and all I got was a yo-yo that broke before I even got off school property. But Raleigh got really stiff. He sold 150 worth of points of beans and got a Chinese finger wrap as his prize. It actually worked. It was supposed to, but Raleigh couldn't get his finger out, and his mom had to cut it off when he get home. Last year, the school tried something different, and they had us sell raffle tickets, and whoever won the raffle ticket would get a spring yard cleanup from the 7th grade class. Miss Spangler, who lives down the street from me, won the raffle, and on the first day of spring, the whole 7th grade showed up at her house, but there were only 2 breaks for all those kids. Most of the class just ended up sitting around with nothing to do. And by the time the spring cleanup was done, Miss Spangler's yard was worse off than it started. The new thing in the school is doing these walkathons. The idea is that we'll walk around the track at the school a certain number of times, like 100 or 200 laps, to get our neighbor to sponsor us for each lap we complete. I can understand someone to pay for seeds or coffee beans or whatever, but I don't know what kind of person gets pleasure out of some kid walking around a football field a couple hundred times. The reason the school put on a walkathon in September is just so they can pay it off of the billboard near the town park. I couldn't figure out why the school didn't just skip the walkathon and have the kids clean up the town park instead, but I guess if the 7th grade was involved, they might have completely trashed it. I've done the math and I figured out each grown up on my streets give me an average of $23 a year for school fundraisers. So I just invited all of the neighbors to my house once a year to tell them to bring me the $20 in cash because it was sure that they would save a lot of pain and anguish. Wednesday. It snowed last night, just like Mom said it would. While the other kids in the neighborhood were enjoying their day off, I was pounding the pavement looking for work. I thought about whose door I could probably knock on first, but it wasn't easy. Miss Dorsher lives right across the street, but she's a little too affectionate, and I usually do my best to avoid her. How about a hug, Gregory? Did someone just drop this pebble? Then there's Mr. Alexander, who moved to Snell's house. He must not have been worn braces as a kid because his teeth aren't very straight. Unfortunately, the first time Dad met Mr. Alexander on Halloween, Dad must have thought his teeth weren't real. Haha, those teeth are hilarious. So I ended up to skip Mr. Alexander's house too. There were people who lived on my street who I haven't spoken to in years, and when I was about 4, Mom and Dad had a cocktail party for some of the couples in the neighborhood, and I went downstairs during the party to use the bathroom. But I guess back then I didn't know you were supposed to keep the door locked. Mr. Harkin walked right in on me. Oops, sorry about that, buddy. When I was done, my mom found out and I told on Mr. Harkin, and I'm sure he felt like a jerk. So I'm not about to knock on some guy I ratted out when I was in high school, preschool, and asked for his money either. Today I realized there was just too much history between me and the people in my neighborhood, so I decided to go to the street to Prentice Lane in a fresh start. I walked to the house on the corner and knocked on the door, but I recognized the lady who answered it, which was Miss Melchler, one of Grandma's friends from Bingo. I told Miss Melchler I was trying to earn a little money shoveling people's driveways and that I'd be happy to do hers for $5. She told me she never gets visitors and invited me inside for a chat. I didn't want to be rude, so the next thing I knew is I was sitting in Miss Metchler's living room surrounded by the lawn ornaments she took inside for winter, and felt a little bit uncomfortable, but I figured I was going to ask someone for money. At least I would try to be polite. But all I could think about the whole time I sat there was how much money I could have been making if I just knocked on someone else's door instead. I must have been there for an hour before I was finally able to steer the conversation back to the subject of me shoveling her driveway. But Miss Melchler said her son was coming by in his pickup truck in a minute and bullseye in the driveway for free. So that's an hour of my life I'll never get back. I headed back to the Princeton Street and started knocking on doors. I guess most people were at work, so it took me a while to find who was actually home. I finally got lucky, and a guy who looked like he'd just woke up came to the door. I told him I'd shovel his driveway for $5. He said it was a deal. I got to work and I started making pretty good progress before it started snowing again while I was shoveling. By the time I finished, it had snowed so much you could barely see that I did any work.